This is the Wizard News. A study tracking the lives of Chicagoans from childhood and adolescence in the 1990s to the start of middle age has found that 56% of Black and Hispanic residents from across the city witnessed at least one shooting by the time they turned 40. White residents were exposed to gun violence at less than half the rate of Black and Hispanic residents, although it was still high. 25% of white Chicagoans had witnessed a shooting before turning 40. Across racial categories, 50% of all the study's participants had been exposed to gun violence by age 40. The average age to witness a shooting was just 14 years old. Of those in the study, more than 7% of Black and Hispanic people had themselves been shot before turning 40, compared to 3% of white people. The average age for being shot was 17 years old. Rates of shootings within a 250-meter radius of the homes of Black participants were over 12 times higher than those of white participants. Rates of shootings near the homes of Hispanic people were almost 4 times higher than for white people. Existing evidence suggests that the long-term stress of exposure to firearm violence can contribute to everything from lower test scores for school kids to diminished life expectancy through heart disease, said study lead author Dr. Charles Lanphier from the University of Cambridge's Institute of Criminology. A substantial portion of Chicago's population could be living with trauma as a result of witnessing shootings and homicides, often at a very young age. Research participants are from households selected at random from a set list of 80 Chicago districts, carefully chosen to reflect Chicago's spectrum of race and levels of social advantage, or lack thereof. The 90s saw a demographic bump collide with high poverty levels and rises in gang crime, resulting in part from the crack epidemic, said Lanphier. However, since 2016, we have seen another surge in gun violence. Rates of fatal shootings in Chicago are now higher than they ever were in the 90s. Men are far more likely to be involved in violent crime, and this is reflected in the risks of actually being shot by age 40, which are 5 times higher for men than women. However, there was a much smaller difference between the sexes for exposure to gun violence. 43% of women and 58% of men had seen someone shot. The public health consequences of life in violent and traumatized neighborhoods will be playing out not just in Chicago, but in many cities across the United States, Lanphier said. Source: University of Cambridge, May 9, 2023.